becoming clear that many who don't qualify for government subsidies or tax credits will begin to see an increase in premiums starting in 2014. Here for fair and balanced debate, Democratic strategist Debbie Dingell and Kurt Bardella, president of Endeavor Strategic Communications. Good to see you both today.
Good to be here.
All right, Debbie, let's start with the fact that we have improving news this morning from the administration. Says the website for signing up has greatly improved, a lot of the glitches ironed out, and it should be a better experience for consumers now.
Well, that's what they've said this morning, and I know you've had some reports that it's not working perfectly. Look, this rollout was not the perfect rollout that everybody wanted to see, and I was glad to hear reports today that 80% of the people that are trying to get on are going to get on. We're going to continue to have glitches. We're going to continue to hear static, and what I really want to see is us talk about the bigger picture. Let's see where we are in a few months down the road when all the bad news stories and all the good news stories we've gotten through, and see what is the reality. Do more Americans have access to affordable, quality health care?
And Kurt, that's the question, because what we continue to hear from people is they maybe like the plans they lost, more than 4 million cancellation notices, and people saying, you know, the administration says, well, they have options. That's what the marketplace is all about. But a lot of folks saying, I don't want the pricier option. I was happy with what I had.
Well, I think Debbie's right that healthcare.gov in itself is a cosmetic issue. Once you get past whether or not the website is functioning or not, the real question that the president will ultimately be judged on is whether or not the promises he made when he was selling healthcare.gov 3 years ago, whether or not they actually come through, whether or not people have affordable care, whether or not the plans that they wanted and plans that they have, they can actually keep, whether or not they can keep going to the same doctor that they've been going to for their families. At the end of the day, the real question that this is going to be judged on is whether or not President Obama was telling the truth when he told the American people that everything in your healthcare system will be better now after this passes and after this is implemented.
All right, so we've heard from Democrats. Congresswoman Debbie Wasserman Schultz, who heads up the efforts on the DNC, has said they are going to run on Obamacare, and that once we get past this initial really rocky rollout, there will be enough positives that Democrats will embrace it in running in 2014, the midterms, which will be critical in a lot of ways. Do you think that they stick with that plan? Because, you know, I think about Congressman Upton's Keep Your Plan bill that he offered up on the Hill. Got 39 votes from Democrats, and many of them in key districts where they know this is a hot button issue. Do you think we'll see more Democrats run away from it or run toward it?
Well, look, my job is to tell the truth. I'm not a spinner. I've never have been. So you may have a few more Democrats that are going to get nervous and aren't going to stay with it. But the fact of the matter is, I think you're going to see most Democrats stay with it as you go into next election year, because they supported the goal of the bill. I think we'd like to see Democrats and Republicans work together to try to fix what some of the problems are. One of the things that I want to say now is that I think everything that's going wrong in healthcare is being blamed on quote-unquote Obamacare, and we are forgetting that healthcare was becoming too expensive. Many of the people, if I were one of those 4.2 that you were talking about earlier, I would be unhappy. But I'd look at what the new facts are. Am I better off? You're hearing from some who don't feel that they are, but I've talked to some of the ones that think that they are. We have people all over the place, but that's where we were when we started to look for how do we make sure we take care of the problems. Too many Americans couldn't get any insurance. I was meeting them. I was meeting a father with young kids who he wasn't taking to the doctor, and one got pneumonia because he couldn't afford to go. We're forgetting why we passed health care and what the problem was in this country.
Kurt, do you think that message will get through, or do you think there are other shoes to drop? I mean, a year is a long time in politics before the folks go to the polls.
I think when you look at the real question of, do you think that Washington and government is the answer to the problem of health care in this country? And historically, what government touches, government usually breaks. Government doesn't do anything well, maybe just nothing and overreact, but at the end of the day, the waste, fraud, and abuse that has just paraded through this government has given the American people no confidence that Washington can actually do anything effectively and administer their health care any better than anyone else. And, you know, this is the same government, by the way, that overreached when it came to NSA. The same government that targeted Americans with IRS for their political views. It's the same government that couldn't get a website to work after 3 years and $600 million. So does anyone really believe that this government that has done all of that can administer health care effectively in America? Probably not. And furthermore, what most people are seeing, candidates and members of Congress, when they go back to their districts, they're hearing stories about how their constituents got their plans canceled. Lee Festerson's a Democrat running in Nebraska and Omaha for Congress. When he was asked by the local news about Obamacare, he no commented, didn't return the call.
Interesting.
But I do want to make one comment. You say that no government program works. I have spoken to people that were there when Social Security rolled out. And Social Security, people can't imagine not having that in this country now.
But it's going to need significant reforms. I think we all agree on that as well.
Let's work together on it. That's what I'd like to see.
All right. We are out of time. But thank you both very much. Good to see you.
Good to see you.
All right, now this week's Out of the Inbox segment, where we look at the stories that you at home tell us you want to hear about, it's actually timely to